It's still relevant today lyrically, which is crazy.
Chris, are you a drummer?
No, I was a singer.
Singer? Okay.
I'm the singer.
I'm the guitar player, obviously.
And Mike,
He's a guitar player.
What do you play, Mike? Guitar?
I play guitar.
Do you guys listen to the Freedom Quest music at all?
No, but I'm going to now on your recommendation.
My brother had a band like this. I remember back in the day.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
He was the
It was a lot
lead
of fun.
singer. And
Yeah.
That was this guy.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun swinging from rafters and getting the crowd riled up, you know. Where my extrovertedness shined.
yeah.
Yeah. Hey, boys and girls, welcome to the Chris and Mike Show. I'm Chris, he's Mike, and with us today is Debora Masterson. She's super cool. She has an amazing life resume. But before we get to there, a portion of the show is brought to you by Riverside FM, the one and only choice for your podcasting platforms. Remember, we are streaming live right now on Twitch, YouTube, and chrisandmikeshow.com. And hey, Philip, can you see us? Philip connected us with Debora, so he came. So we got to say hi to Philip because he's supposedly on the YouTube right now watching us
And welcome,
live and in person. And we're also now almost, I think so, over 80 countries around the world.
Over 80 countries.
Growing like wildfire.
And for sure, welcome Vietnam, because they are now over 10% of our listenership.
Right.
Wow, that's awesome.
Right. And we don't even speak Vietnamese. Vietnamese. I don't know how to say that. I'm
Say
not
that
trying to
10
say that
times.
3 times fast.
Vietnamese.
Wow.
No, thank you.
Welcome,
So
Vietnam.
we're on an elevator, 30 floors up with Debora Masterson. She's going to tell us why she's here, what she's all about, and then we're going to dive into just a fantastic conversation with this woman who has just an absolute amazing life resume. You ready, Debora?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Go.
All right. Oh my gosh. Well, the reason I'm here is because I wrote a book, which I never thought I would do, but I did. And so it's called Freedom Quest. There it is.
Woohoo! Nice.
Freedom Quest, a love story.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you want me to talk about my career. I mean, I've done a lot of things.
You could talk. I know you have. I know you have. That's why when I kind of gave Mike the summary, because you really have a really cool life resume. So this conversation goes however you want to go with it. So you want to talk about your book? We'll talk about your book. You want to talk about going from LA to Chicago? We can talk about that. We can talk about your music. We can talk about the new book you're writing. Anything you want, Debora. Anything.
Yeah, sounds good.
The world is your oyster.
Well, yeah. So everybody asked me, was writing a book like something you had, on your wanted to do for your whole life, and is this,
Right.
and actually, no, I never thought I would write a book. But kind of looking at my background, it makes sense. I love to read my whole life. I was a dancer and French major. So I had a double major all the way through school. I started studying French when I was 12.
What kind of dance?
And all kinds of dance. I mean, I started when I was 7 with tap and ballet. I took ballet my whole time. When I was dancing, I don't dance anymore. But but I always loved to sing. So I grew up in a very musical family. My dad played classical piano and also all of the standards, the pop songs. And my mom was a singer. She wanted to be a singer, but the end of World War II, her mom ended up getting divorced, and her only brother died in Iwo Jima. So she had to go to work and help her mom out. So it was just the two of them at that point. And so, she wasn't able to pursue this musical career she wanted to do. But you know what? My dad had all these records because he was a radio announcer after the war. He was in New Caledonia.
That's awesome.
And then he came back to Hollywood, and he started out as a radio announcer. And back in the day, they used to they were able to cut records at the studio. And
really?
So my brother and I inherited a bunch of records from my dad, and some of them were just records that he used on his shows and stuff. But we found my brother was listening to them one day, and he goes, "Oh my God, we have a record of Mom singing with a big band in Long Beach.
Right on.
It was
That's
so great.
awesome.
And the only way we knew it was her was because at the end of the song, the announcer goes, and that was Debora Masterson singing, and mighty fine, mighty fine. I mean, we're talking 1930,
so cool.
35 maybe.
Wow. That's
1935.
Wow.
It's so cool.
That is so cool.
Grew up with in
cool.
a musical family. You know, I remember we'd all hang out around the piano and we'd sing. You know, my dad would play and we'd all sing. And then my mom, God rest her soul, she would sing the harmony in my ear. And she would sing the hard parts, you know, like 3-part harmony with stuff. And she would sing it in my ear. And so I became really good at harmony singing, which is my favorite. I love singing with other people in groups, you know, like 3 or 4-part harmony.
Yeah.
So, so then, you know, I started dancing. Well, I started dancing when I was young.
Yeah.
Basically, you know, my parents gave me dance lessons so that I would be graceful enough to get a husband. So
that's fantastic. That's totally the sign of the times back then, right? Because that was the goal.
Absolutely.
I was born in 1950.
No, right on. Oh, you had that's a great first 20 years of a life to live, right?
That's a great year because that's the year my parents were born.
Yeah.
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
So my brothers got got music lessons, but they didn't want their only daughter hanging out with musicians.
Of course not.
Yeah,
of course not.
I had to become graceful to get a husband. Yeah. So unfortunately, I didn't get music lessons, but I went into dancing. But I realized I loved to sing, so I couldn't just dance. So I thought musical theater's the thing for me, where I could dance and sing. So I went into musical theater, and that's how I ended up on the road with Sammy Davis Jr.
Right. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about Sammy, because Sammy picked you specifically, right?
Yeah. Well, I was hired, you know, through the production company, you know, Sammy and Hillard Elkins, and they had this show called Sammy Stops the World. It was in 1978, and I was the least prepared for that audition of any audition I had been to. And that's what I did. I mean, I went to auditions, and then I, you know, did the show, and then the show would end, and I'd think, oh my God, I'm never going to work again. I'm going to get fat. And, you know, I was going through all these, you know, and so anyway, I would go up to on Hollywood Boulevard. I grew up in LA. Hollywood Boulevard, and pick up the magazine, Casting Call magazine, every week, and I'd go through and I'd jot down all the auditions. And so, you know, I think it was a Monday morning, and I go up there and get the casting call. I get back at my car, and I'm kind of leafing through it, and I'm seeing Sammy Davis Jr. audition for Sammy Stops the World in 2 hours. I'm like, oh my God, I got to be there. So I ran home, showered real quick, went back, and truly, I was the least prepared for that audition of any auditions I had ever been to, and I got the job. And I think that's a good lesson to learn. You know, it's like I went in there casually. You know, it's like,
how old are you at this point, Deborah?
I was 27.
Okay.
I was towards the end of my career. I finally after that, yeah. I mean, dancers, you know, doesn't last long.
Yeah, that's definitely so hard on the body.
Young person's
game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you know, it's like you can't do what you used to do. I mean, by the time you're 30, 35 years old, you usually dancers are like, okay, what am I going to do now? You know, same thing with gymnasts and athletes, you know, high-end athletes, you know. So anyway, so I walked in, and I'm like, they go, what do you want to sing? I'm like, oh, I don't know, Summertime in the QC. You know, and I was so casual about it. And I think that helped too.
I'm sure.
You do this, you know. Anyway, it was a very heady experience on the road. We were on the road for 4 months in San Diego, LA, Chicago. My first time in Chicago, 1978, nice. And then
so how was Chicago back in the 70s?
Well, I was only there, you know, couple of weeks or something like that. I remember I stayed in a hotel, and I used to jog on the lake, Now you guys are in Arizona, is that right?
I'm in Arizona. Yeah, Mike's in Illinois.
In where?
I'm in central Illinois, around Peoria.
Oh, you are in Illinois.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm in Arizona. I'm in Arizona. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I knew. I knew one of you
that's
guys.
the desert behind me.
We're about an hour east of Peoria.
You're an hour east of what?
Peoria.
Peoria. Okay. I'm starting to get my bearings. You know, I've been here. It'll be 3 years, May 30th. I'm in Rogers Park.
Okay, so I'm about 2 hours south of you.
South. Okay.
Straight down 55.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Got it. Yeah.
So you guys could go have lunch together sometime.
Sure.
If I'm ever around Chicago, we're going to do that.
Please do. I'm up in Rogers Park. I love it up here. It's great. A lot of music, a lot of artists. It's writers. You know, it's great.
Yeah.
Anyway,
awesome.
so I ended up on the Sammy Davis Jr. Tour, and we were at Lincoln Center. Are you kidding me? We got to dance.
Fantastic.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. And then I should back up and talk a little bit about prior to that. So that happened towards the end of my career, but the Freedom Quest book is really the story. It's like I said, it's a love story, and it's about me and my first boyfriend. And I met him when I was 15. And it's really his story, because he was such unusual. He had such an unconventional, crazy life that his story really had to be told.
At 15, he had a crazy life?
No, I met him when I was 15.
Right.
Okay.
But this is the story of his life. But it happens to be I'm in it too, because we're soulmates.
Part of his life. Right.
All right. I got you.
I'm calling it a novel based on a true story, though.
Right.
Because I changed all the names except for some, people that but pop. What would you say? Well-known figures, that need to have their names stayed. But other than that, everybody's right. But I met him when I was 15. He was my brother's guitar teacher.
Nice.
So. Yeah. So
how old was he? How old is he? You were 15. How old was he?
He was 18.
Okay. Let's see why I went there.
A little bit of a problem.
Well, but see, back then,
I went down that road myself.
It really wasn't,
Deborah.
Right?
You're right. That's right. Yeah. Back then, it wasn't that big of a deal. Now you can go to jail.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's really different now.
Mm-hmm.
Really different.
Absolutely.
In fact, that was one of the notes I kept getting on this book was like, I'm afraid for Grace. What's happening? She's with this older man, and I'm like, I didn't get it, but anyway, I fixed it. I fixed the problem. But so we met. He was my brother's guitar teacher. So the way that happened was my brother, on the way home from school one day, he was in junior high, middle school.
Okay.
Stopped in at the local music store and was introduced to Craig Ingram, who's the Michael in the book. And he's got a big giant bandage on his arm. And Michael says, "Whoa, man, what happened to your arm?" And he goes, "Oh, my big sister did it." So he decided he had to give lessons over at the house instead of at the music store, because he wanted to meet me. I found out about this later, of course.
Okay.
So anyway,
smooth operator.
It was love at first sight. I fell in love with him. He was extremely talented. I mean, just an incredible guitar player. Knew all the words to all the songs. I think he had what's called hypophonesia. He was able to remember anything he heard.
Wow.
Which was interesting. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so we used to call him Mr. Jukebox. I mean, he could play for 3 hours, he could play all the way through from the 50s to the 80s. And it was like,
holy
crap.
Yeah, it
he
was
like
really
musical
amazing.
Rain Man.
Yeah. So I fell in love with his talent. I mean, he was just amazing to me. And so we went together for 7 years.
Wow.
And it was such a crazy time, it was the Vietnam War and, sex, drugs, rock and roll. They say sex, drugs, rock and roll, okay, I want to break that down, because we've always had sex, right? I mean, that's not
always.
That's how we all got here.
What happened was women got birth control for the first time. I remember I took one of the first birth control pills in 1967, 68.
Okay.
Yep.
And they were super strong, by the way. It was crazy. But they, now they're better. But women got birth control for the first time, so they could actually have sex without fear of getting pregnant.
Right.
So that kind of really opened it up, the hippie era and the free sex and all of that.
It's a great point.
Women could, enjoy
could
themselves
on a better level.
Yeah.
On their terms.
And then at the same time.
On their terms. Yes.
On their terms. Yes. Hopefully. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And, and then psychedelic drugs.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right. So I just finished a book by Michael Pollan called How to Change Your Mind. It's the history of psychedelic drugs.
I've read it.
Well, I didn't realize they were invented in 1952.
Yeah. You're talking Mike's language, Deborah.
Okay. Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
Many
and
times.
I think you only need maybe one. I don't think you need more than 1 or 2 trips. If you're in the right environment, it really opens up your mind. But what happened, is it was being used very successfully and is now starting to be used again very successfully with PTSD, veterans, alcoholism, depression.
Saved me from addiction.
Right. It works really well. But what happened was it got out of the laboratory and doctor's offices and into everybody was taking it, and everybody was taking too much of it. And the street stuff, nobody knew what you were really getting. So unfortunately, and then everybody clamped down on it, and the good things that could come from it were literally lost.
Yeah.
And
thanks
now
to Richard
finally
Nixon, mostly,
it's coming
right?
back. Yeah. So sex, drugs, rock and roll, and then the Vietnam War. All of us, we had the draft. My brothers were afraid they were going in. Michael, Craig Ingram in the book, he ends up getting his draft notice, and one of his best friends died. And so that's part of the story too. And so his best friend was, they went scuba diving together. They did everything together. And just before he left for boot camp, Michael and this guy, Bill Perkins, they've gotten a fight over a girl.
Oh.
It was a fist fight. It was bad.
Oh,
I know.
Wow.
It was a bad fight. It was a bad fight. Then Bill Perkins left for Camp Pendleton boot camp.
Right.
And they never got to say they make amends. They never got to say. And he died in Vietnam.
That is sad.
And he's the only combat photographer in our nation's history to receive the Medal of Honor. He was a combat photographer.
Wow.
Oh.
He went to high school. So I need to move from that. Okay, so then Craig and I go together.
And understand, I don't want you giving up too much of the book because we want people to read it.
Right.
So don't go deep into the whole concept of the book. Okay. But I mean, obviously you can brush it over because we want people to go buy your book. So we're kind of going to dangle the carrot a little bit. Yeah.
So then his friend dies in Vietnam, and Craig, or Michael in the book, goes from a short-haired, good Catholic boy. He was so angry over Bill's death. In fact, he didn't get to say he was sorry over this girl. He ended up a radical, writing protest songs here down to the and
gotcha.
it just really, really changed him.
Yeah.
So
That's too bad.
then in 1973, we were living in San Diego together, and he started this band, Freedom Quest, and that's the name of the book. And it was arguably, looking back at his career, probably the best music he ever made. He was 27 years old. He was at the pinnacle, of his musicality, creativity.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. I can't wait for you guys to hear this music. And
Cool.
some of the band members, you may recognize the names. David Benoit. David Benoit is a jazz recording artist. He also has a jazz show on the jazz station in LA.
Okay.
K-Jazz, it's called K-Jazz in LA. And so, you know, he was the keyboard player, and he played keyboards, and he also played Hammond B3 through Leslie speakers.
Wow.
It was so good. And then Brian McNess was on bass, and he's a killer. I'm in touch with David. I can't find Brian, the bass player. I'm dying to talk to him, but I hope
maybe he'll find this. Maybe he'll stumble on this like Philip did.
Hope I get to talk to him and celebrate,
cool.
because, you know, really, he was such an integral part of this band. And then I was singing background, and Bill Richardson, it was a 9-piece band: violin, flute, percussion, and rhythm section, and three background vocals. It was just killer band. Okay,
that must have sounded amazing.
Short-lived, because Craig got busted for pot.
Oh, that damn devil's lettuce.
Yeah.
Damn the devil's lettuce.
He was never an alcohol drinker. You know, he didn't drink alcohol at all, ever. But he loved his cannabis. And so what happened was they were recording, and they were Craig wanted to get a record deal. So they were in the studio recording, and he ran out of money. Craig ran out of money. Or Michael in the book. He ran out of money, and the roadie overheard, you know, that he needed to get some more money. And he goes, "Hey man," he goes, I got a connection. We can turn around a couple of kilos of pot, and you can have the money to finish the album. And he said yes. And the roadie was working
was a
for
cop.
The feds.
Damn it, man!
Oh,
Damn
no.
it!
He set him up. He was on probation, and he set him. Yeah,
that's
a lot of that happened back then. A lot of that.
That's such a drag, man.
So he ended up in jail. I mean, the minute the marijuana passed hands,
that was it.
Swarm of police cars got thrown in jail, and he was there for 3 days. He said 3 of the scariest days of his life.
Oh, yeah.
And then he went before the judge, and you know, now I was going with him at the time. I mean, I had to find the bail and, you know, pick him up at the jail.
What was the bail? What was the bail back then?
Oh God, I don't even remember.
For 2 kilos of pot.
I mean, our rent was $50 for our.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's probably $100. So it's probably $100. Like, where am I gonna get $100, man?
That was a lot of money back then.
Trying to find that money, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know, I go pick him up, and he stands in front of the judge, and the judge is like, "Son, I can see you're not a hardened criminal,
right?
And I'm going to give you 6 weeks in honor camp, and I don't want to see you back here again."
What was hold on. What was honor camp?
Honor camp was out in East San Diego, way out. Beautiful. I mean, beautiful. He was out there with the, you know, oak trees and the squirrels and the, and basically, you know, it was low security. They cut fire trails for the firemen, and you know, it wasn't bad at all. But the band broke up. The band.
Well, I mean, he's an honor camp. The band's not going to stick around back then because it's you know, it's free love. Let's go to this. Let's go travel to, you know.
They had other jobs and stuff, and they you know, the band broke up, and I left him at that point.
Yeah. Oh.
So I broke up with him. I got scared. I mean, it was just, there were so many groupies, so much, you know, so many drugs. I mean, I remember there was like a bowl of chocolate mescaline on our kitchen table.
Chocolate mescaline?
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I just got scared, you know?
Yeah.
And I loved him. I still loved him. But I was like, I think, you know, a typical woman, I was sort of like, so where are we going? What's the plan?
Yeah.
You know, where's our future? And he would just look at me and go, we're playing music and having a good time. That was it. right? For him. And so, I mean, I'm sure you've been in that situation.
Oh yeah, we were there.
Yeah. So anyway, I broke up with him. The band disbanded, and the record deal, of course, fell away.
Faded away, yeah.
But there were seven songs recorded, which are streaming. You can find them everywhere.
Nice. Cool.
And so he took those 7 songs, and the only person that stayed with him was the percussionist, Sodi Arcia, who, by the way, just passed away February 1st. God rest his. Yeah. He just passed away, which is kind of sad because he helped me. I interviewed him. He helped me with band stories and things. And but he didn't get to see the final book,
It's funny because drummers latch on to people. Like, it's almost like a marriage. They don't always latch on to the same member, but the bass player and the drummer are usually attached at the hip, or sometimes it's the guitar player. It's weird because they have to have an instrument. The drums are not really an instrument.
Right. Yeah.
I always say it takes a certain kind of personality to want to beat the shit out of something for hours on end,
I agree.
You're not making
drummers
music.
Have always been the craziest ones in the band,
I know they're all yelling at me right now. We're musicians. I didn't say that. I said you're just making beats, right? Without the drums.
The old joke, why do drummers hang out with musicians? No, why do drummers join bands? So they can hang out with musicians.
Yes.
Yeah. But I was just in touch with the drummer, Elvio Ditta. Just in touch a couple of days ago for the first time.
Nice. Yeah.
I tracked him down.
Cool.
And he finally called me back. And he was like, I told him, I said, well, I changed all the names. And he said, and then he told me, he goes, well, when I joined the band, he said, I was really, I didn't feel comfortable. He said, Craig was just too crazy. He was too wild. And he said, I grew up in a very strict family. My father was like, very strict.
Yeah.
He said, I was an immigrant from Tunisia. Okay. And so, very strict family. And he said, Craig, he rubbed me the wrong way. And so I didn't know any of this, right? So anyway, in the book, because in my experience, the drummer is always kind of the craziest one, he's full
usually
of, right? Yeah. So in the book, I don't know, this just came out when I was writing. It was like, what am I going to call the drummer? Neon, because he has pink hair. Oh, so we called him Neon because he's got pink hair. So I told Elvio this on the phone 3 days ago, and he went, what? He was like, oh my God. I said, look, don't worry. It's not a big deal,
Now, were you the bass player in this band?
No.
You were singing.
I started playing bass until 14 years ago.
14 years ago you started playing bass?
Yeah. No, I just was a singer. Yeah. I was a background singer.
Okay, so I want to rewind a bit because we cannot not touch on the fact that you went on tour with Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh,
like you just breezed over that like you were driving through an In-N-Out burger, got a burger and fries, and went home and ate it. So we got to kind of back that up and talk about Sammy Davis Jr. Did you get to hang out with him? Did you guys kind of form a friendship in that short amount of time? What were the performances like? All that kind of stuff, because I know him, Mike knows him, you as
the
Rat
guy's
Pack,
a legend,
the original Rat Pack, right?
Yeah.
And back then, it was so uncommon for someone of his I don't want to say black, but it was so uncommon to have a non-white guy in the group that he was with, because it was him, Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, right?
Oh yeah,
was Jerry Lewis in the Rat Pack.
Now I'm drawing a blank because we're sitting here.
Sammy, Dean Martin,
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra. That's right. Frank Sinatra.
And there's one more we're missing.
Yeah,
Joey Bishop. I don't know. Anyway,
but yeah, talk.
Yeah, and there was a lot of prejudice.
Right there you go. Yeah.
A lot of racism, and I remember stories about how the guys in the Rat Pack stood up for him, and made sure that he could, go to the restaurants and hang out with them.
Sure.
And stuff.
Right.
But
so
did I hang out with him? You know what? I was so insecure at that point,
right?
And so blown away by the fact that I had gotten this job that I probably didn't, take advantage of the time as well as I should have.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there were only 11 of us in the cast.
Okay.
So it's a small group. And
Did
I
he
do
treat
remember.
you guys well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He was a
Like,
real sweetheart.
What kind of band leader was he? How did he talk to you? Like,
He was he was very quiet. He was a
Really?
very quiet man. Yeah. But I remember when we were on stage at the end of a rehearsal in Chicago, and all of a sudden some of his entourage showed up with big giant boxes, cardboard boxes, and they pulled them out. They started opening them up, and we were getting like all these presents. We each got a watch and a radio, one of those like boombox radio.
Yeah.
The alarm, the alarm radio. Yeah. And, I mean, it's just all these presents. That was interesting. And
that was all from him to you guys?
He cooked for us in Chicago.
Oh, wow. Right on.
He invited us over to his apartment downtown. It was right by the water tower and, big high rise. And he was in the kitchen with his entourage. Cool. He cooked pasta for us that night. And I remember Jesse Jackson was there.
Nice.
Right
on. So everything I looked at from Rat Pack wise, there's 5 people, but the most images are just of Sammy, Frank, and Dean Martin.
Yeah.
Those are the most 3. Those are the 3 that kind of, because that's what I think of when I think of Rat Pack, are just those 3. I didn't know Joey Bishop and Peter Lawford were.
And
those
Peter
are the other 2.
Okay,
right. Those are the other 2. But the most of the photos are just of the 3.
Well, yeah,
which makes sense.
Mega stars.
Yeah.
And that was towards the end of his career too. 1978. He died 4 or 5 years later, maybe something like that.
Yeah. See, I remember him and Dean Martin in Cannonball Run. They were hilarious.
Yep.
They were the priests, just the alcoholic priests, just and all the stories from that movie, from Burt Reynolds and stuff. All that stuff was real. They were hammered the whole time, just having fun, improv and everything.
Have you ever seen? I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Have you ever seen what?
Sammy, when he was a kid, tap dancing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen all that old
reels of that.
Yeah. Talented, very talented.
Incredibly talented.
Yeah.
Full threat,
Yeah,
full
totally.
Threat, right?
Totally. Well, and see, back then you had to have the full thing. To be a star, you had to be able to do everything.
Yeah.
You had to be able to sing and dance and the charisma and the presence on stage.
It was all live.
Yeah.
There was no
like
second
theater,
takes.
You couldn't get away with lip syncing,
right.
That stuff. It was
no
live.
backing tracks.
Nope.
That's what the period I come from.
Yeah, man.
Here's a funny story. So my dad, like I said, he was an announcer. He was over in New Caledonia during the war. They were running the Armed Forces Radio Network down in South Pacific. And then he came back to Hollywood and he got into, it was radio, and then he got into television, and he had his own local television show on ABC in Los Angeles. Right. And so I'm about 6 or 7 years old, and he invited me and a couple of my friends from the dance class to go on the show.
Okay.
And it's live, right? And so, we show up with our little costumes and everything, and I'm nervous, right? I'm 6 or 7 years old, and we get on the sound stage, and I don't know if you've ever been on a sound stage, but it's black. The whole place is so dark, except for the one place where they're filming, which is really bright lights. And then back in the day, the cameras were huge. Just huge.
Oh, yeah.
The eye on the camera was huge.
Yeah. The kinds that follow you, you're going to die. Those kind of cameras. Yeah.
So, my dance teacher, okay, come on, little girls, so she pushes us onto the stage, and the music starts, and we start dancing, we're dancing. And the music stops, and my dad, and I'm like scared half to death of this big giant eye, this camera.
Sure.
And it's all black, and so that's the music ends, and my dad walks over to me with this big giant microphone. It was big back in the day, big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bends over, puts it down in front of my face and says, "And what's your name, little girl?" And I burst into tears because I thought, what? My dad doesn't know who I am all of a sudden?
Yeah, yeah.
I freaked, and it was live, and everybody was like, "Cut the commercial, cut the commercial."
Well, you think your dad would have said, "Hey, honey, I'm going to come up to you and say, what's your name, little girl?"
He really blew it.
Yeah. Wow.
What's your name, little girl? Oh my God. I felt so bad, but it was like, I was nervous anyway, right? It's like.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
Anyway.
So so you got the book. What made you leave LA and come to Chicago?
Yeah. Well, Craig Ingram passed away, the lead.
Right. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. The lead in the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we break up. He loses everything, right? Loses me, loses the band, loses the record deal, and he gives up and sells his equipment. And a friend of his is moving to Hawaii, so he moves over to Hawaii with his friends.
Yeah, because that makes sense. Let's just hop the pond and go live in an island surrounded by water.
Yeah. He was like, and they were like, "Come on, man, bring your guitar. You'll lie on the beach and play guitar. Lots of beautiful women. Play tennis all day, and sounds great, right?" So he gets over there, and
it's the opposite.
They were playing a lot of tennis. They were playing tennis all day long at Diamond Head Tennis Center. And, and Craig had nothing. He had one guitar, no car. They found a little apartment, and they're playing tennis all day, having a good time. And he meets this guy on the tennis courts, and really incredible player, very enigmatic, charismatic, and all that. And the guy starts learning all about him, and Craig was an open book, told him everything. He goes, "Yeah,
cool.
My girlfriend left me, my band broke up, I was close to getting a record deal, it all fell apart, and just gave up, and blah blah blah." It turns out the guy was a cult leader.
Oh, and he gets right on. That's awesome. If you know anything about us, we're all into that kind of stuff. Like I have the Jim Jones shirt that says "Drink Up." And nobody's recognized what that is yet.
Seriously?
Mike knows.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Mike knows. My wife knows. Yeah.
When I say we have a gallows sense of humor, Deborah, that's it's a whole nother level.
Yeah,
I did have a friend when I took a picture of it. He's like, "Is that who I think it is?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're a sick bastard." But it was fun. It was comical. But yeah,
I think you remember how we started this. We are of no threat to anyone. We just have a great sense of humor, right?
Okay.
We would never encourage someone to do that for real. If you're that stupid, we can't help you.
Right. It's beyond our reach. Beyond our reach.
We would advise you don't do that, but
don't drink the green Kool-Aid.
Yes, if at all possible.
And so he, and meanwhile, so in the book, it's really interesting because meanwhile, I move on and I meet a man, and we ended up getting married, and I was married for 26 years, raised two beautiful sons.
Nice.
And he's over there in the cult. So a couple, there's like 3 or 4 chapters in the middle of the book where
okay, don't give it away. We want people to read your book. Just touch on the fact there's some cult conversations in the book.
You have to hear the cult story.
It's crazy.
Yeah. You got to read about the cult story. Okay,
I'm with you. We want people to buy the book. Buy your book. I want to hear the story, but now I have to read the book too. So.
Right. That's why we got to stop that. Let's divert. Let's talk about PBS and Bravo, because in your life resume you did some stuff with PBS and Bravo, right?
Here's one deal I'm going to start making authors. Okay. If you want to come back in a year and tell the whole story, you are more than welcome to do that. But I am 100% with Chris. We want people in the 81 countries that are listening to this. Go buy Deborah's book, because she's an amazing human being. And the story, when you get to a cult story, that's why Chris stops you dead in your tracks. I stopped right there with
Stop.
Well,
How did it happen? Who was it?
Let me tell you.
And it just came out. And it just came out this month, right?
Yeah, today.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah. See that?
This is the debut.
The irony of
the official day.
On the Chris and Mike show, we have a debut of someone's book.
We got a debut of a book.
Philip just sent me. I wish you guys were here. He sent me a dozen cookies for the book release day. Today is the day.
Cool.
Oh, that's awesome! Congratulations, Philip. Good job.
Thank you.
Way to go. Now, what is Philip?
Deborah.
What is Philip to you? Because I need to
Philip
understand
is
the
my
relationship.
publicist.
Okay,
He's
that's
my
what I thought. So that's what I
Okay.
thought because I saw PR in his tagline, but then he was also talking about I'll see you in the concession stands line, and I haven't seen him yet, and I told him that. So
right. Yeah.
So if you can see the screen, boys and girls, there's her book, Freedom Quest. It's a love story by Debora Masterson. Today is the day. It just released today. She came on our show just to taunt her book, which just, that's amazing. Thank you for that.
We love that.
So go to atmospherepress.com or just type in like I did, Freedom Quest book, and this came up. But there's a little synopsis for it because we don't want to give it away. And this is obviously Philip's page. This is what Philip is.
This is
Press? Okay.
This is the publisher's page. Yeah.
Cool.
But you should go to my website, deboramasterson.com.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I will
it's
tag
Debora
that
without an H. Yeah. Debora.
Yep. I saw that.
I will tag that in your episode too, Deborah.
Debora.
That's how I'll say it in my head now, so I spell it right.
Debora. I'm talking to Debora Masterson. She wrote a book.
Yeah.
There it is. Oh, look at that. Can two young lovers torn apart by sex, drugs, rock and roll in the Vietnam War get a second chance?
That's awesome. Coming April 21st, which is today.
Today.
Go get it right now.
So here's Freedom Quest on Spotify. There's the music. So
that's going in my playlist.
DeboraMasterson.com without the H. There's Debora right there. Yeah. Little information about her. Okay, but I do want to know what you did with Bravo and PBS because that was referenced. So look, there's Sammy. I was going to ask you about what is this over here? What is this over here? Is that an Oscar?
That is an Oscar, and I had the great honor of being at the Oscars.
Shut the front door.
No,
seriously, and that was my client, Gail Ryan. I was running a talent agency for a while in Los Angeles while I was married.
Cool. And this is the band?
Yes.
This is the 9-piece band. See how I figured that out? There's 9 people there, I think.
That's
there's more than
there's more than okay, but
there's
I just visually counted wrong. Thank you. In the works, keeping secrets. Okay, but we're not going to go there yet. We're still focused on this Freedom Quest. Okay, alive and well on Amazon Prime right now. Go to Amazon and order the book. 81 countries. If you get everybody in Vietnam, order the book because it talks about Vietnam in the book.
Okay, yeah. So let me share it.
Yes.
Okay, so remember I talked about how Craig and Bill were best friends, and then they got in a fight, and he went to Vietnam. Right. Okay, so then I'm married, and I'm running a talent agency, and one day I'm in the car. I pick my kids up from school, and they're like 15 and 13 or something like that, and we're singing in the car, and I'm like, guys, we should get some music lessons. You guys want to take guitar? Because I had remembered that they were at my brother's house and they picked up the guitar. You want some guitar lessons? And they were like, yeah. So while I was married, I was not around live musicians at all. So I reached out to a friend. Thank you. Yeah, back in the day, huh? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Keep talking.
I'm just going
through your photos.
I reached out to a friend of a friend's and I said, I'm looking for a guitar teacher. It has to be close by in the area because my sons are not driving yet and I'm working full time. Okay. And he's like, oh, there's only one person I could recommend. He's the best, Craig Ingram. I'm like, because I never knew where he was.
Now is Craig in this picture?
Yes, he's in the yellow shirt.
I was gonna say yellow shirt. Cool.
Oh, so the guy on the left, if you go back,
I'll go back
on the left with the hat. Right. Bill Richardson, he was in the original band, and me in the black, and then also the far right, Sodi Arcia was the percussionist, and he was in this last band that we were in. It was called the Craig Ingram Band.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And who's the guy with the glasses and the mustache?
So I find out, Craig Ingram has been living less than 4 miles away from me for 10 years.
Wow.
While I was raising my children.
Crazy.
Okay. Are you in this picture with Sammy?
Yeah. I'm
Is that you?
Directly behind his head.
Right there.
And
right there.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome. Who's this guy? Is that Ike Turner?
Who's the choreographer?
Okay. He kind of looks like Ike Turner.
Ike Turner.
Yeah.
He does, doesn't he? He kind of looks like Ike Turner. I'm just saying.
No, you're right.
I can't think.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name right
That's
now.
okay.
Billy.
Well, you don't have to. You don't have to. It's okay.
Oh, that's me with a group before Sammy Davis Jr. This was a group I was in, very Las Vegas style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
It was in Los Angeles, though.
Cool.
Yeah.
Keep telling your story. I just scroll through photos when I find them.
So I find out he's been living, a couple of miles away from me and his family home. He came back from Hawaii, and I immediately called my brother. It's like, oh my God, I found Craig Ingram. And he's like, well, you're not going to talk to him, right? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to talk to him. I'm married. Well, that lasted about 10 days. And I called him. And I told my husband, I said, I'm going to go have lunch with Craig. And he's like, no, you're not. Because he knew about him. I said, yeah, I am. And I was hoping it would just be, a lunch and kind of catch up. And I found out I was still in love with him and he was still in love with me. It was so
powerful.
Ended up, yeah.
That's why your husband was like, no, you're not.
Yeah. And, they say that if you're in a happy marriage and everything's going well, that you can see an old boyfriend and it's not going to be a big deal. But our marriage was not in a good place at that point.
Gotcha.
And I still loved him. There was no doubt about it. And he had never gotten married, never had kids, always talked about me. And so I went through a divorce. Luckily, everything is good now. We're all good. The kids are good. My husband, former husband's good. Yeah. So we got back together again. And one of the first things he told me is, I want to make a documentary about Bill.
Oh.
Okay. Now I'm a talent agent and I'm representing crew. So I was in a position to help him, but I truly told him, I said, look, you don't understand. You're a musician. You don't understand how expensive it is, how difficult it is to make a film. Forget about it. Yeah. I tried to dissuade him and he said, no, I got to do this. I got to do this.
So was this on PBS or Bravo?
Well, let me finish the story. So,
okay. Sorry.
So he goes, I told him one day, I said, look, I don't want to think about war. I just want to think about peace. And he said to me, you can't know peace unless you know war. And I went, okay, touche. No. All right, I'll do this. And so we immediately reached out to, so Bill Perkins is a combat photographer. He goes over to Vietnam. They get into this horrible battle. He was assigned to this group, Company C, 1st of the 1st Marines. He was a Marine. And he was assigned to this group and they took off. They were told to go out, helicoptered out into the Highline Forest. And they ended up in this horrible battle. And Bill Perkins crawled forward and jumped on a hand grenade and saved the lives of all the township.
Wow. Way to go, Bill.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so it was a powerful story.
Sure.
And so reached out to the survivors that were around him and invited us to their reunion in Washington, D.C. So I produced this thing all by myself.
Nice.
I got all the releases. I got all the,
everything needed.
Everything we needed. We hired a cinematographer in LA. So it was Craig, me, and the cinematographer, John Matishak. He, in turn, hired some of his friends that were still at Emerson College in Boston. We rented a van. They brought all the equipment down to D.C., Washington, D.C., and we filmed for 3 days in Washington, D.C. And it's a wonderful, wonderful documentary.
Right on.
He did a fantastic job. It was his vision. I just helped him with his vision. And
what's it called?
It's called Above and Beyond, the story of Corporal William T. Perkins, Jr. And he's a huge hero. Corporal William T. Perkins, Jr. And so PBS. Okay. So, Bravo was something else. So PBS.
We probably don't have time for Bravo because we're at a 10-minute mark, but I want to at least, I just want to at least share this part of it.
So this is the important part. So once we had the documentary done, it's 30 minutes, by the way. It's not a long documentary, but
it's okay.
Perfect length, I think. So we reached out to all the, production companies, everything. We're trying to get a distribution. Never happened. Fast forward, last year, 17 years later, Craig is gone. I'm in Chicago, and PBS picks it up.
Right on.
So
that
cool. Was amazing.
So
Chicago
what is Dennis?
Has been very good to me.
What is Dennis Franz's role in it?
He recites the Medal of Honor citation.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Dennis Franz is one of my all-time favorite cop actors.
Yeah, he's
from
awesome.
Hill Street Blues to NYPD Blue. Yeah. Like you talk about an actor. He's kind of like James Gandolfini before James Gandolfini hit the scene. That burly, tough exterior guy, but then you just have this amazing vulnerability about him. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what he's doing. You felt everything that Dennis Franz did on screen.
Yeah, he just fell into that character.
Yeah. To do the narration, he invited us to the 20th Century Fox lot in LA.
Nice.
And so we show up, and they take us to his trailer, which is like just this little trailer, and we knock on the door. It's like, he's like, trailer, pictures of his family all over the place. Yeah. And then he goes, okay, we're walking over to the studio. So we walk over, and would you believe we were in the Simpsons studio where he recorded the narration. We were just like going, oh, this is amazing.
That's cool.
That is huge.
It was
That's
great.
really cool.
What I do now is I show the documentary, and then I have local veterans on a Q&A. So we do a 30-minute film, and then we do a Q&A, questions from the audience and all of that, and let the.
And this is in Chicago.
Yeah, I've done it in Chicago. We did it in LA. We've done it in a lot of different places. It's going to play locally here in my neighborhood for Memorial Day, and it's also going to play downtown Chicago at the Center. Yeah. Okay,
so let us share that right now.
Where did you say
going to be played?
Those events are also on my website.
Okay.
May 27th event for the film.
Oh, events. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, there's an events page. Yeah,
I see it now. Yeah.
So I'm very honored to be the steward of this film. I'm one of the few people that left. The Bill Perkins family, there is no one left, unfortunately. It's a very sad, very tragic story. Bill Perkins Sr. and his wife lost their second son and only son. They had two sons. Their youngest son died 4 years after Bill died in Vietnam.
Gotcha.
So they lost both their children.
That's terrible.
And there was nobody left. It's very sad. Very sad.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this, because it kind of ties in, even though it shouldn't really tie in. If you're feeling sad and suicidal or depressed, don't do it. Go scream in a pillow. Go outside and go for a run. Go work out. Go find somebody to talk to. If you can't find someone to talk to, text 988. Someone is standing by to help you talk you off that ledge. We talk about it all the time. Don't leave a hole in somebody else's heart because you choose not to be here tomorrow. Because tomorrow is always a better day with you in it. So just do that. Text 988. For more information about Debora Masterson, again, the website is Debora with no H, Masterson.com. There's her site right there. You can find out more about the book. You can read about her. There's book clubs, there's events, which we'll talk about the different things that she has upcoming. So later this week, she's 3 to 6 p.m. at the Folk Art Rare Records. You can go meet her, buy her book. That's in San Diego, California. On May 2nd, she's in Hollywood. May 3rd, she's in Chicago. May 17th, she's in Evanston. And then May 30th is what we were talking about before with the 30-minute documentary she made about the story of Corporal William T. Perkins Jr. So check those things out. She's definitely somebody that is going to come back on our show because Mike's already alluded to that. You're going to come back in a year and you can tell us all about the show. We'll have you on a Friday because Friday we have more time to have conversations and we can really dive deep into your life because I feel like we only touched a little piece of it.
Aw, thank you.
And we would love to obviously learn more about you and more about what you've done in your lifetime. Because really, I didn't know about Dennis Franz till you mentioned the documentary. Then I looked up the documentary, and there he was. So I have a suspicion there's a lot more little innuendos of people that you've met along your lifetime, nuggets that would really be really fun to talk about. Because again,
you've been fascinating, Deborah. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's so cool. This is the day your book came out. That's a first for
really
us,
cool.
So
yeah,
we're honored.
It's really cool. And before we let you go, how old are your sons now? What are they doing with their lives?
Oh, now they're 44 and 42.
Okay. Okay.
Congratulations.
Nice.
So one son is here in Chicago, one son is in LA.
Okay.
So, you asked why did I end up in Chicago? Well, I decided to downsize, and am I going to stay in LA or come to Chicago? And I fell in love with Chicago. I kept coming back to visit.
It is an awesome city.
You got public transportation. You got water.
It's just an awesome city. You got great food.
Great food. Yeah.
Yeah. California is not the place to live anymore. I mean, I live in Arizona and I sell houses for a living. So, they turned our state blue one election because so many of them came over here because they're just tired of California, which I don't blame them with the chaos that's going on there. Just from a political standpoint, I don't blame people from jumping ship from that state. It's a mess.
Believe it or not, when I grew up in the valley, the San Fernando Valley, it was rural.
Well, yeah, but that was 50s
we were riding
and 60s.
Horses.
Right.
Well, in my lifetime, and now, you'd never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So many.
Yeah, you're awesome. Thank you, Philip, for connecting us.
Thank you, Philip.
Shout out to Philip for sure.
We'll get you back on. I'll put you in my calendar to reach out to you. But anytime you want to come back and I'll talk about something, just have Philip or you shoot me an email. We'll get you back on. We always kind of book a month ahead of time. So, but definitely next time it's a Friday, so we have more time to chat with you and dive deeper into your life resume because it's much more fascinating than I think that we even touched on.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Best of luck on your book.
It was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for having me on.
And don't leave when Mike shuts us down. Don't leave because we got to make sure you're all uploaded and everything's good to go. For Chris and Mike Show, I'm Chris, he's Mike, and this is Debora Masterson. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. It's the most valuable commodity in the world. So we thank you for spending an hour with us. Not only you, Debora, but everybody in those 81 countries. Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. Thanks again, Debora. Have a great day.
Peace.
Peace.
Close your eyes and it fades away. with a praying man.